Well, my name is Noel Davies, and I served in the Royal Air Force. It's in West Africa, and at the present moment, I'm Vice Chairman of the West Indian Ex-Servicemen's Association. Well, I'm from Sierra Leone. I have two heads. My father is from Sierra Leone, my mother is from Nigeria. I went to school, I had all my education in Nigeria, both Nigeria and in Sierra Leone, both ways. What they did was to actually come to the schools and they look for everybody that is above a certain particular standard, you understand me, somehow, which they wanted to see that much, because you must have, you know how to read geometry, you must be good in geometry, algebra, English, and you must get your certificate of all those kind of things. So what they did was they get to Form 4 and Form 5, as we call it, that's secondary school. You call it outside in England here. I don't know the title they gave to it, but that's the particular one was under that. What they did was they look at people who can actually be trained to be pilots. Because in Sierra Leone, all they did was they recruited for pilots and engineers. So my bad luck was that the first 6 is what they wanted to be pilots and navigators. Because I had dual nationality when my father is there. Being the colonial days, I had to switch straight to Nigeria straight away, where it was open to all engineers. And so we were actually recruited. Well, then I had to join the West African Air Corps, the Royal West African Air Corps. And it was from there they started to see how they can recruit us to become members, and we were trained. That's the technical school where we were trained. You understand me somehow? That's right on the top. And that's me there, what I look like, you see, when I was in the Air Force. And that's why when I joined the Air Force, that's what I look like. You see, you can see how slim I look like. Down here, you will see all my buddies that were in the training school with us. These are all our signatures when we say goodbye to each other before they send us to different squadrons, you see, somehow to actually do the jobs. No, we served quite a lot in places like northern Nigeria and Khartoum, which is in Sudan. That's where we were based, you see. What they did was the planes, we had at least 10 months to 10 weeks training, and then after that we were transferred to the area where the planes were built. And then the pilots were trained in Canada. Very young pilots, they were 16, 17, and 18, you see, because that's how England hadn't pilot, they depended on the Polish pilots then, you see, to actually do the flying in those days. And then eventually in the end, we managed to build the planes for them, service them, and then run them in the runway to see that everything was all right. And then the pilots would just come and pick it up. We worked on Spitfires, and then we worked on Lightnings, and then we also worked on Venturas and the Lancaster bombers. You see, those were the kind of planes, you see, that were actually built and serviced in those areas.
Did you interact with any British soldiers during the war?
Oh yes, indeed. We had the British, because the people who were above us were the English people, you see. They were the sergeants, and they were the majors and the others. They were around in the same camp. And they were the overseers, because in colonial days you were not allowed to actually hold positions in Africa, unless in England. You see, somehow, so what they do is they put in a white fellow that could be on the top itself, to be the sergeant major or the others that much. But they were very good. They were trained officers, you see, somehow that much, and they worked with us. At first, the surprise I had touched me that much, because in our school days in Sierra Leone, we were taught to speak Oxford English, you understand? And their English was distinct, very distinct. You had to be clear. And others, they were the one that read the news, and they were the one that held all the positions, see, somehow. Well, eventually, in the end, when I met with them, I just don't know exactly whether I was talking to an Englishman or not, because some of the accents were different. Some were called Jock, and some were called Taffy, and some were called different names, and their accents were so different that much. It took me some time to, I beg your pardon, I can't just understand what they were saying. But eventually one gets used to them when you mix with it. Then I managed to find that they were just exactly like us. You get, in West Africa, you get different tongues and different accents. The same thing happened in England, so that was something which was very friendly. We got used to them. They respected us, you see, that much, because we were a different breed of characters, you see, that much, from the natives. They were a bit nasty with some of the natives because they couldn't speak English at others, and rude to them. But we that were actually in the educational particular part, they had a healthy respect for us. Well, after the war, there were two things which I think brought me to England. One was that they said to us at the they want us to join the Air Force and do exactly another section of 10 years. 10 years, you see, that much to actually serve in the Air Force. So they gave us, I asked them, why do you want us to actually serve? They said, because the kind of planes that will be actually flying those days are propeller-less. So we thought they were mad. How can you fly an aeroplane without propellers? You understand? We didn't realize it was jets they were talking about. So it was later on we managed to find out exactly it was jets. You see that much. So I regretted it, you see that much. I didn't actually, but my engineering particular part stood me in good stead, because I was able to actually come to England. And as soon as you came to England, the first thing they gave you was, because of your certificate and your training, don't worry, you got a big job straight away in the engineering field. I was given a job in the engineering field in Morgan, a place called Morgan's Crucible Works. With the Morgan Crucible Works, that was where our engineering skills were used. You see that much to see if we can actually use as many things we can do to build up the war efforts. Because after the war, they wanted the war efforts itself. And we did quite a lot of jobs, you see that much over there. Because I'm grateful to some of the trainings which I had. And I was fortunate because the engineers and the people who were my unions and others were friendly, you see that much, and they gave me all the encouragement, you see that much, to see that we do. But when I came in first, I found a different crowd of people, you see, were different to the particular ex-servicemen you can get that come over to West Africa to work down there. These were natives. I used to call them natives because they were neighbors. The first thing I noticed was that all the laundries and everything were hanging up just as how you're washing them in lines, just how we do in Africa and everything. And we found they can swear and do every kind of thing just like us. So they were friendly, and you get the children where some of them were running barefoot. Just like the same thing we can see our children running barefoot in Africa to the same thing. So it didn't take long before we managed to join them. You see that much, we became very friendly, and we were able to work with them. I became an ex-serviceman as time went on. I joined the British Legion. And it was from the British Legion, that's a whole history of how I got my positions that much over there.